So this is one of the things we're really passionate about here at EndoArmy, is helping patients get access to proper care, because as some of the speakers you've heard from tonight, it can start out as endo, but as patients get failed surgeries or surgeries for the wrong thing or improper treatment, or don't start getting treated until they have had pain for 30 years, that's when you can get into things that are really hard to manage and help patients be pain-free. So we are really advocating to help get word out there so that we can help patients earlier. And one of the people who've been a great resource in Virginia since the very beginning is Dr. Barron, and I'm gonna have him come up and speak. He's been a great support since basically day one, and we actually have a few patients here that have been gone to him, and he's just gonna come up and talk a little bit about why he feels organizations like this are important. And also, I just wanted to give him some spotlight time because he's been such a great support for us.
Wow, that was nice. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here tonight. When Kiana asked me if I would be willing to speak about EndoArmy, I quickly said yes, because some of my patients have already benefited from its existence. By now, everyone who doesn't have a personal story about endometriosis surely understands the dramatic impact the disease can have. Hearing from Dr. Goldstein and from Caitlin and Maggie and Alexandra paints a vivid picture of the difficult journey that so many women go through. From being told that their symptoms are normal, to feeling ashamed that they can't just grin and bear it, to being told there's no cure, there's no treatment, or you'll just have to have everything removed. Wouldn't it be wonderful if school, nurses, teachers, parents, and friends were aware of this thing called endometriosis, were able to recognize the symptoms early on? Well, organizations like EndoArmy are working to change the common story that I hear over and over again about how many doctors and how many years it took to get diagnosed and proper treatment. When I was in 7th grade, there was a big hulking kid about twice my size who went from being one of my good friends to being a bully. And I began to hate going to school, wondering what humiliation I might face the next day. I asked myself, why me? What am I doing wrong? Why can't I fix this? I first tried to ignore it, then I told myself, this is a normal part of growing up, and I was tough enough to take it, until eventually I found the courage to ask for help from my parents and from my teachers. What I learned later was that I wasn't the only one going through this. That turns out there was a group of us in the same classroom going through the same thing. We just didn't know it. Now I know this isn't a perfect comparison, but can you imagine a world where there's as much recognition for the existence of endometriosis and its impacts, just like we've seen over school bullying in the last decade? With our support, groups like EndoArmy can begin to change that. And what has changed the landscape around the bullying epidemic? It's been awareness, education, and empowerment. Sound familiar? Having someone by your side to validate your story, to listen to you, to encourage you, to seek out help is vital for women suffering from endo to begin the journey toward healing. And organizations like EndoArmy fill a vital role in that journey. First, this group provides hope, letting women know they're not alone, that there are others who've traveled this path before and persevered. Second, EndoArmy provides supportive voices from those who have been through the same thing and come out stronger. And lastly, EndoArmy provides education, access to information, and guidance to the best care available. Put these together and a patient becomes empowered. She becomes a warrior, not just a victim. One of the major reasons why we need organizations like EndoArmy is because doctors don't always get it. I know because I was one of them. As you heard from Dr. Sechin, standard physician training doesn't prepare OBGYNs to adequately treat endo. I was taught that birth control pills and pregnancy were the treatment of choice until you're ready for a definitive treatment, removing all the female pelvic organs. Well, no one told me to bother to remove the endometriosis. After 5 years in practice, I went back to complete a fellowship in pelvic pain and laparoscopic surgery, and I realized that I had been one of those doctors who didn't get it. I then went and did a second fellowship just focused on the intricacies of endometriosis excision surgery. And I saw patients who were pain-free for years after the surgery and still had their uterus and their ovaries. When patients run into a doctor like the me of 10 years ago, who most certainly wants to help his patients, they aren't going to learn about all the options out there, what is and what isn't necessary, and that there are choices. That maybe the OB who delivered your children isn't the same doctor who should be operating on your endometriosis. EndoArmy is working to change access to this kind of information your insurance company and your primary care physician may not be able to give you. And EndoArmy, however, has the goal of being more than just a repository of information. This organization is going to become the community to provide guidance and support right here in my backyard in Virginia, DC, and Maryland. There are some wonderful national support groups out there that play a very important role in the endometriosis community, but there's something to be said about an intimate group with direct knowledge and insight about local resources. Being able to meet face-to-face with other endo warriors is also something you don't get from a Facebook group. Kiana Scott and the rest of the group that have been involved since day one are growing EndoArmy into an organization that is much more powerful than just a support group. They're developing an organization to empower women, to make women suffering from endometriosis stronger and more confident, and to give them a chance to claim command of what can seem like a life spiraling out of control. EndoArmy wants to make sure that young women don't have to wait 7 to 10 years to get a diagnosis and have a place to turn if they aren't getting the information they need. I chose to sponsor this event because I believe in Kiana and her determination. Riding from Mexico to Canada in a car is hard enough, let alone in the saddle and stirrups. And I'll be honest, my wife can attest, I can barely take more than 30 minutes on a horse. And apparently from Kiana's dad, he can either. But choosing to ride 1,400 miles on a horse to raise awareness for endometriosis, that's the definition of determination. That's why I'll continue to answer whenever Kiana calls, and why I know this organization will be successful. Like many schoolyard bullying stories, it took a few years to overcome, the scars that I developed, but I only wish that back in grade school, those of us going through the same experience had found each other. We probably wouldn't have felt so alone, so helpless, and so hopeless. Maybe we would have at least come up with some great ways to get even, like filling a deodorant stick with butter, maybe leaving a surprise Cadbury egg filled with hot sauce, or maybe putting a strong dose of Miralax in someone's water bottle. While EndoArmy may not recommend Miralax in the battle against endometriosis, or maybe they would, they certainly will bring awareness, build a community, and lead the battle against endometriosis. And I can't say strongly enough how much I believe in what this group can accomplish with the backing and support of people like us. Yes. EndoArmy is destined to become a powerful force in the Mid-Atlantic region and nationally, as long as we continue to support it and nurture it. Thank you. Thank you, Viv.